Hey, what's up guys? This is Lenny with TCO Fly Shop. We are out here filming on a balmy 23, 24 degree afternoon in January up in north central Pennsylvania. Today we wanted to take some time and talk about layering, building a system that will allow you to stay warm in the wintertime, cool in the summertime, protect yourself from the elements so that you can get out and still fish on a day like today.
So what is layering? Layering for me is building a system from my skin all the way out to my shell, my outer layer of clothing, that's going to help me stay as comfortable as possible in a wide variety of conditions, whether that's going to be the cold, the wind, the sun, or a combination thereof. We layer because throughout the course of the day, those conditions may change, may get warmer, may get colder, a rainstorm may pop up, exertion levels may change as I'm hiking into a spot versus while I'm fishing. Having the ability to add and remove those layers throughout the course of the day is going to lead to us being more comfortable and spending more time on the water. So when it comes time to select certain pieces for your layering system, the first thing that I oftentimes will look at is going to be the materials that those individual pieces are made out of. One thing that remains a constant, at least in my outdoor layering system, is the avoidance of cotton at all costs. There's a very common old saying in the outdoor world, cotton kills. Once you get wet with cotton, cotton holds on to moisture. Cotton doesn't do a very good job of, again, drying out quickly and moving that perspiration off of our bodies. By avoiding cotton, it's a key step and honestly probably my number one rule when it comes to selecting materials for my layering system. One other very important thing to note is that your layering system is only as good as your weakest link. I try to explain to people all the time that you could have the highest grade merino wool base layers, but by wearing a cotton t-shirt and cotton underwear underneath that, you're essentially negating all of the benefits that you're going to see from that very high level technical piece of base layer clothing. So as we've said, layering is a system built from your skin out to your shell, your outer layer of clothing. With that, we're going to start talking about some next to skin base layer clothing options. So this is the Patagonia Capilene Midweight base layer. This is a fully synthetic base layer and something that I'm going to use on a variety of conditions and a variety of days here in Pennsylvania. So when looking at a base layer option, as I mentioned before, you're going to have the choice to go with a synthetic choice or a merino based option. Typically speaking, synthetic is going to be less expensive on average and a little bit more versatile in the sense that they're going to dry faster and help move that perspiration off of your body much faster. That's the key to any base layer system. This is the foundational element of a layering system, is helping manage that moisture and push that moisture from layer to layer to layer and eventually off of your body and away from you. When it comes to merino, merino on average is going to be a little bit warmer next to your skin, but a merino base layer is going to hold on to that perspiration a little bit longer, keep you a little bit on the wetter side of things. However, it also does a better job of insulating you when it is wet. So again, a series of trade-offs back and forth. This is the matching Patagonia Capilene midweight bottom base layer. Personally, I oftentimes will use either the midweight or the thermal weight Capilene style synthetic base layers for most of my fishing, with the exception of the coldest of cold days. Specifically, if I think that I'm going to be far from my car and I have the ability to maybe fall in, I usually err on the side of going with a synthetic base layer, specifically in really cold weather. As I mentioned, it's going to dry a lot faster and it's going to still do a very good job of keeping you warm, keeping you insulated even when wet. Maybe not quite as well as wool, but the ability to get dry in a serious situation, if I'm, again, far from my car in extremely cold weather, synthetic is usually going to get the nod for me. This is a cotton poly blended hoodie. This, to be clear, is not a good mid-layer option for any time spent on the water. Going out with your friends, going to the bar, going to a restaurant, shopping around, a great all-around, everyday kind of piece, but you will never see me wearing any type of cotton-based hoodie while I'm on the water. So this is a very good mid-layer option. This is a Patagonia R1 Air mid-layer. This is a fleece jacket, and when it comes to fleece, fleece is a really, really popular choice for a lot of different mid-layers for a lot of different reasons. First and foremost, on average, it's pretty darn affordable. It's readily available in a variety of different sizes, styles, colors, you name it, you can probably find it in some sort of a fleece jacket. To me, I call fleece a mid-layer on average because the vast majority of fleeces offer little to no wind protection. And that, to me, is enough to keep it in the mid-layer category where I'm still going to want some sort of a shell on top of it. This R1 Air here, as you can see, has this microgrid configuration. Microgrid fleece is really, really nice for trapping heat against your body. So on a really cold day, while this is a thin, lightweight, breathable piece, this is going to be a really good option for keeping you warm. Any type of fleece, to me, is going to be a really, really nice insulating mid-layer option. When it comes to mid-layers, another really popular choice are going to be puffy jackets. This is the iconic Patagonia Nano Puff. So when talking about puffy jackets, one thing to consider is going to be the insulation inside. This Nano Puff utilizes Primaloft Gold insulation. You also have the option to get into a variety of other Primaloft insulations like the cross current or cross core insulation you'll find here in this Sims piece. This is the Sims Extreme jacket. You also have down insulation options. So when choosing your insulation, just as with your base layers to have the option between synthetic and merino, there's a series of pros and cons when it comes to synthetic versus down. On average, down insulation is going to be a little bit lighter, a little bit more packable, and on average a little bit warmer as well. Again, trade-offs, however, down insulation loses the vast majority of its insulating capabilities when it gets wet. So just as with synthetic versus merino base layers, I oftentimes will choose a synthetic insulation layer on a colder, rainier, wet type of day. On cold, dry days where maybe I'm dealing with wind but nothing in the way of precipitation, down is a great choice. When traveling, if packability, lightweight, and the ability to keep that insulation layer with me, whether I'm adding or removing it throughout the course of the day, down oftentimes will win in that conversation as well. So just as with everything, there's no set rules here. It's a system that you can add, remove, change back and forth based on where you're going, what you're seeing, and the conditions that you're encountering throughout your course of the day on the water. Not only do you have to consider the type of insulation, again, synthetic versus down, you also have to consider the amount of insulation. Both this and this are synthetic puffy insulations, but two totally different jackets, much lighter, much heavier. The ability to match your insulation layers to the conditions around you is one of the great things about a layering system. Another great option in the realm of both fleece and puffy would be vests. Vests are a really nice insulating mid-layer piece for almost year-round use depending upon where you're at. Oftentimes when fishing out west, say in Montana, even in July or August, I might have a lightweight puffy insulating vest on in the morning. As my temperatures start to increase, I can take the vest off, shove it in my pack, shove it in my vest, fish throughout the course of the day with my traditional sun hoodie type situation. And then as the sun starts to set, temperatures start to drop, I can throw that vest back on. On extremely cold days as well, I really like having a vest. I'm a huge fan of vests myself because it really does a great job of keeping your core warm. One of the key concepts in staying warm on a very, very cold day is maintaining overall core warmth. So something that's super light, super packable, you almost don't even know that you're wearing it, allows you to dial in your individual fit and your layering system on any given day. So just like with your base layers, when it comes to mid layers, you also need to consider what you're wearing on the bottom. These are the Patagonia R2 Tech Face Pants. This is a high lofted microgrid fleece here that is a fantastic choice for really cold weather. An important note, again, regardless of what the weather conditions are outside year round, again, avoid cotton at all costs. Sweatpants are not all created equal. Fleece sweatpants and cotton sweatpants, two dramatically different things. Trying to avoid cotton at all costs, like I said, is usually a really good idea. And when it comes to staying warm, fleece, in my opinion, is one of your best choices for your bottom layers. So now that we've covered mid layers, we're going to move on to our final piece of our layering system, and that's going to be your shell. When it comes to your shell or your outer layer, you really have two main choices to make. First and foremost, is it a hard shell or a soft shell? And then is that shell going to be insulated or uninsulated? So this is the Grunden's bulkhead jacket. This is a bonded windproof fleece. This is a great example of something that can be used as both an insulating mid layer on really, really cold days, or this could act as a outer layer on kind of your average, maybe a little bit chillier days. Soft shells don't provide any waterproof resistance. So while this is a DWR finished piece, it'll kind of keep you dry and a little bit of a light drizzle, light mist, not a true dedicated rain jacket by any means. But as far as some, a really versatile piece, this is a great choice for both, again, an insulating mid layer or as a windproof, wind-stopping outer layer shell as well. So as I mentioned, when it comes to your shell, you have two different options of a hard shell or a soft shell. A hard shell is going to be a true waterproof coat. This is a prime example. This is the Grunden's Downrigger Gore-Tex. This is a 3-layer Gore-Tex performance shell wading jacket. For me, I love uninsulated hard shells for the vast majority of my fishing. It allows me the versatility to wear this on the coldest of cold days with, again, the appropriate layering underneath, but also in the middle of the summertime during a torrential downpour, I can still put on a hard shell piece like this stay warm, stay dry, stay comfortable, again, under a variety of circumstances and conditions that you're going to see out on the water. Lastly, we can talk about insulated hard shells. This is the Sims Bulkley jacket. It's definitely one of my favorites for, again, the coldest of cold conditions. Again, for me, if I'm going to pick one, I'm going to go with an uninsulated version and apply the appropriate layers underneath. But this is a fantastic choice and something that I find myself wearing a lot during steelhead season, during the middle of winter here in Pennsylvania, in the coldest of cold, really nasty, miserable, wet days. So now that we've talked a little bit about layering, let's talk about what I like to do and what I like to wear under certain circumstances and situations. For me, if I'm fishing, let's say, it's January like it is right now in north central Pennsylvania. Forecast is looking like it's going to be cold, windy, and dry. I'm probably going to start with a merino wool base layer of some sort, top and bottom. From there, I'm going to go into, again, a heavier fleece style mid-layer pant. And I'm a big fan of puffy jackets. While fleece, again, is a great choice, some sort of puffy, whether that's, again, thicker, thinner, a combination thereof, tends to move with me a little bit better underneath my waders and packs down a little bit nicer if I do need to take one of those layers off, shove it into my bag as conditions change throughout the course of the day. I'm almost always going to finish that off with, obviously, some sort of wader, and then some sort of, on average, uninsulated hard shell. A down jacket this time of year, if I'm really not concerned with the weather as far as rain or snow. I love the packability and the lightweight nature of a puffy down jacket. And then, again, finish that off with something like a Sims G3 or, again, a Grundon's Downrigger Gore-Tex. To me, that kind of covers me for the vast majority of the conditions that I'm going to encounter on an average dry day here in Pennsylvania. On the flip side, just a week and a half ago, I was up on the Salmon River steelhead fishing. We had some really miserable conditions, 34 to 40 degree weather and rain all day nonstop. At that point, I went full synthetic for just about everything I wore, knowing that I was expecting to get wet. I wore synthetic base layers and a thermal weight top and bottom, all synthetic puffy jackets, so stayed away from down, knowing that when my jacket got wet, if I fell in or if my rain jacket started to soak through after 6 or 8 or 10 hours in the rain, I was still going to stay warm, I was still going to stay comfortable at least. And then I finished it off with a Sims Bulkley, an insulated hard shell. So as you can see, layering is about building a system from our skin to our shell that allows us a bunch of versatility to be prepared for the conditions that we expect to see, but most importantly, for the conditions that we don't expect to see. As things change, a layering system allows us to stay on the water longer and more comfortably. Thanks so much for watching today, guys. If you have any other questions about a layering system, feel free to please reach out to any of the TCO locations. And if you have other concepts like this that you'd like to see us cover in the future, please let us know in the comments below. Thanks again, and we'll see you soon.